Yo, what up, good people? Wrath and Mystic knocking already on. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your guide, your coach, Coach Renz. And tonight we're going to have a little conversation talking about Christian relics. And I didn't even prepare for this one in the way that I normally would. So we might actually do it where we're looking up some stuff and realizing certain things. Because I didn't feel like preparing. I was busy doing something else. But a lot we can go off memory. So I don't even know which relics we're going to talk about specifically, but we're going to overview them, talk about them. If you find me for the first time, wait about 5 minutes and we'll get into the meat, heart and soul of the conversation. But we're talking about Christian relics tonight. Christian relics and how real they are. Always, I want to thank everybody who's a member of my YouTube page, everybody who's a subscription holder on Facebook, all the subscribers on both pages. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support of the channel, for sharing and everything. What's up, Donald? What's up, Wrath and Mystic Akhenaten and Tim? And I want to thank everybody who supports the channel this way and who buys cigars, the Angelina Cigars. Nice floral smell to it. What up, Volta? Tim and Raph would probably want me to wait till about the 5 minute, 7 minute mark before I light the cigar. Because they're always trying to cultivate the timing of how much cigar, because when it's gone, the show is over. But I'm having a great day today. Started out hot and rainy, but now it's hot and sunshiny here in San Antonio. I hope you guys are prepared for tonight. I put out the subject matter about 2 hours ago. I also posted 3 videos. Hope you guys went out and saw those 3 videos that I posted today. I also posted another video on my relationship channel. If you're not a part of that channel and you want to hear that kind of thing, go on over to my relationship channel, as well as a stupid video on my cigar channel. So if you buy the La Angelina cigars, her hand rolled cigars, they are $8 if you buy just one individual cigar. If you order a pack of 5 or more, then it's $7.50 per cigar, plus shipping. And as I said on the video that I did about this cigar, it's simply the best. Especially when some coffee. But you gotta take the coffee and then you breathe over the coffee, blow the coffee breath out of your nose, and then take a pull on the cigar. Blow that cigar out your nose. Ooh, child, boy, what you talking about? Now, this is the thing. I want to ask y'all a question before I get started, and people can answer this later on in the comments if you're watching this video later. So Tim just said he ain't got no walking around money. I was thinking that my next online webinar, which will be $10 for the webinar to be a part of the webinar. I was thinking my next online webinar, because here's the thing. One of the things that Christians promote is that all you got to do is give, and the money will flow over, and God's going to bless you, and so on and so forth. And I've always thought that's some bullshit, right? So years ago, I created 2 things: a DIY, do it yourself, yeah, a DIY program booklet, and also a financially on fire webinar. We have to become financially astute, because if We are one of the hardest things to do. If you're having a conversation with somebody and they're telling you, "Oh, went away from God. You're not going to have blessings. God's the only one that's going to bless you." Da 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 da. Or if you're running around broke as a joke, no walk around money, then it's kind of hard because regardless of a person's religious belief or anything, they're going to measure you by you having the level of financial success that you desire. Right? You're going to be measured by that. Your intelligence is measured by that. Your convictions about whatever you're talking about, everything is measured by your financial situation, right? And you can make $200,000 a year but still be broke. But you're measured by it. You can make $40,000 a year and be in a great situation. Right? So Angelina was asking me today what my next seminar is going to be about, webinar, and I wasn't sure, but this comment just made me realize that yes, my next webinar is going to be my seminar called Financially on Fire. And in that Financially on Fire webinar, you will get the DIY booklet, but then we will go over the webinar. We'll go through the webinar, which breaks things down so that you have a good understanding before you even start going through the DIY. But yes. I donate something, even though due to my work life, I won't be participating much. I appreciate when you give people a free opportunity. When you donate the membership, I greatly appreciate that. But we got to build our finances, not just for our convictions, but just need to build them anyway. Period. Just because. So we're doing. That'll be the next webinar. Let me look at I'm gonna look at a calendar today and schedule it. Of course, it's going to be scheduled for we're in May. It's going to be scheduled for June. But yeah, that's the next one. So now that we way past the 5-minute mark, but not the 10-minute mark. Let's talk about Christian relics. Christian relics. How true are they? How fake are they? We can name any relic that you want to talk about. We'll talk about that relic. But first, let me give you a basis of how all these Christian relics got started. Thank you, Raph, for your donation to the channel. So let me tell you how all these Christian relics got started. And I want to keep this one up so I don't lose it, because I want to come back to a couple of these. Because most of these Christian relics, some of these Christian relics that he's named here, especially the crown of thorns and things of this nature, they come about through the Middle Ages. But the first person to really start, who created the idea and the mindset of having Christian relics, and it was used as a political tool, was who Catholics call Saint Helena. We know her as Constantine's mother. So the imperial mother, Saint Helena, embarked on a mission that was most likely promoted by her son for political reason, as he had made Constantinople, which is modern day Istanbul, to the capital of the Roman East Roman Empire. Well, the Roman Empire, after he had brought the Roman Empire together, went on down to Judea. And while there, she started calling for excavations, and she started asking the local people about the stories of, like, where was Jesus born? Where was the crucifixion? Where's Golgotha? She started asking all these questions, asking the locals. And now, mind you, these locals are telling her stories from 300 years after the so-called events. So she realized that some of the places where Roman temples had been built on top of them, so those temples were destroyed, and she had temples built. Now I want you to think about it. You got a rich Roman lady who's the mother of the emperor. She's walking around your town. She got some walk around money. And the locals find out she's looking for mementos of Jesus. So of course she is claimed to have discovered the true cross. And there's a little joke among scholars where they say that there's enough pieces of the true cross floating around that you could build a forest. Meaning that the all is fake, is fake, is fake, is fake, is fake. Because there's not that much wood around. As a matter of fact, one of the chalices, or the Holy Grail as we like to call it nowadays, used to be claimed to be part of that cross. And now it's part of the Holy Grail. So she began that process. The Spear of Destiny, the Shroud of Turin, the Crown of Thorns. I don't know what the Sudarium of Ovecchido. I don't know what that one is. That's a new one on me. But all those things were initially started out because of this woman. When you go to Jerusalem now, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the church that's the church in Bethlehem for where he was supposed to be born, all these things were initiated by Helena. Oh, and although many there are the Christian apologists will call her the mother of modern day archaeology, we recognize that she was not doing true archaeological work. People told her where something happened based on a 300-year-old memory, and she accepted it. And she built temples and buildings on top of those places. The Knights Templars followed suit a few hundred years later. So this becomes a constant theme. So when we talk about things like the Shroud of Turin, which is what I use as the on the template for here, the Shroud of Turin is probably one of the worst. It's on the top of the list of some of the worst. It ain't the top worst, but it is near the top. Definitely a top 3, 4. The Shroud of Turin has been demonstrated to be a forgery from the 12th and 13th century, well, 12th through the 14th century, in every time it's been tested. And it doesn't matter what type of test is used, whether it's carbon dating testing, whether it's testing the pigments. Its pigmentation is not, it's paint and it's other things of that nature. And it is not blood, it is not biomatter that's on the Shroud of Turin. The style of the weaving has been demonstrated that the weaving is more of a medieval style of weaving and not a first century style of weaving. The way that the face appears on the Shroud of Turin would not be the way an image would be burned into this material, right? The facial features is not a Middle Eastern man. The hair would not have superimposed in that way. There's just so many problems with the Shroud of Turin that it has been declared a false idol for the most part. But as the Vatican has stated, it doesn't matter if the relic is real or not. The only thing that matters is the fact that the people's emotional belief in it is real. And how they live their life is real. Yes, you can go and visit it because in Turin, Italy, so let me give you one of the reasons, Patel, why these things became a big deal. Money, 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 money. All these cities from the 300s and on, and especially after Christianity became the religion of the Roman Empire, money tourism became the thing. The same reason why Göbekli Tepe, they've excavated only 5% of it, And now they're not allowing any more excavation because they're trying to get that tourism dollar. The same reason they won't let you go and verify where the Noah's Ark is supposed to be, because Turkey is getting that tourism money. So all these churches in the Middle Ages and all these cities, and might I say Middle Age Europe, they were going after that tourism dollar. And I wouldn't be surprised if Leonardo da Vinci had something to do with the Shroud of Turin. It would have to have been, it fits in the time frame. Oh, so the Sidarum, okay, that's the fabric that was placed over Jesus' face after the crucifixion. So, and that's another, okay, so I didn't know what that was called, but I knew that there was a difference because there's an argument about, well, it would have been an individual cloth, and the cloth that was set aside according to one of the stories that would have been put over his face, but yet the Shroud of Turin is one full cloth. And yes, you would have to, when you're excavating, you would have to figure out if any of these places are real. And you can imagine the time frame that Helena went there. You got people from all kinds of different backgrounds. You got Jews, you got Christians, you got Muslims, all living in Judea. If I see this woman coming through here and she believes this bullshit, I'm gonna sell her some trinkets too. Just like when I went to Israel, every time I went to Israel, there's always people there trying to sell you some bullshit. Oh, I got some water from the Jordan. It's been blessed in this holy water. And yes, my dumb ass bought some of the water. I bought some of the water. I did. I bought, what else I buy? Oh, I didn't buy, but I scraped off a little dirt, little pieces from the Wailing Wall. Oh yeah. When I kneeled down at the little where Jesus supposedly was buried, you know, where the cross was supposed to have, the hole where the cross was supposed to be. I had a little cloth and I wiped around it. I had a little wipe around on that, and same thing in his little tomb. And then when I went out to the garden tomb, I grabbed me some dirt. I had some dirt from Bethlehem where they say in the manger. I was getting all that bullshit. And people were buying, selling, and everything. So a lot of people were, of course, selling her a bunch of BS. Was you deconstructed when? No, I was a full-fledged believer when I went to Israel. It was part of my deconstruction started becoming stronger once I visited Israel. Once I visited the place, and I started saying, well, okay, some of this stuff ain't right. The historicity can't be right. How you got two tombs? I'm having problems with it. Then I found out that the garden tomb was actually a first and second century, third century BCE tomb. So I was like, well, that ain't right. And it's a tomb that's designed to hold ossuaries. Well, you can't do that at the pyramids anymore. I don't know if they're letting you close to it. But yeah, these things are fake. Yeah. It's like Muslims buying Zamzam water. You know, I told them and certified I was a Muslim when I went to Mecca, and they sell you the little rocks that you got to throw. When I did the video recently about the fire that's supposed to come inside of the sepulcher, you know, whatever, you know, you can only use the little wicks that they give you because they've been dipped. in the right stuff so that you can have the pretty much a heatless fire. So many of these things are fake. One of the biggest ones that is a fraud that we see in our time frame, which was popularized by the Da Vinci Code movies, the Da Vinci Code book, as well as the one that popularized it for me, Indiana Jones and the Search for the Holy Grail. Search for the Holy Grail. The cup that Jesus used during the Last Supper. The cup that Joseph of Arimathea caught the blood of Jesus in. Of course, the Da Vinci Code made the cup to be the womb of Mary Magdalene. But the origin of the story actually starts out through paintings of people trying to illustrate, because most of the people were illiterate. So paintings of people trying to illustrate the story of Jesus. And some of those early paintings had Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and there was a cup in the air. And that cup was in the air, though, was a representation of, can this cup be passed from me? I really don't want to do this. But that took on its own literary character. People started rolling with that. Until you had a French dude who used to write a lot of King Arthur stories. He's the one who would write the Lancelot stories. He was writing all these stories. Well, he wrote the Percival story. And his name is like Chrétien de Troyes. And he wrote the Percival story, but he didn't complete the story. But the parts that he did get finished was the fact that Percival came into this event. He saw these women. They were having a parade of items that they was walking through with, and one of the things was the chalice of Jesus that was used at the Last Supper, and it had a wafer in it. And then he didn't know what to do, and so he didn't do anything. And then they said the woman was like, if you had asked the right question, then the bread and the chalice could have healed your king and all the people of the court. Well, he didn't finish the story. Troyer died before he could finish that version of the story. And although many other people continued to try to create an ending for that story, it wasn't until Robert de Baron, which is Robert the Baron, came along and created the backstory of Josephus of Arimathea catching the blood of Jesus in the same chalice that Jesus used during the Last Supper. So Robert de Baron created a bullshit story, and when he created this story, many people believed him because he was a French writer who had been writing many stories about King Arthur and all these other knights like Sir Lancelot and everyone else who went looking for the cup of Christ. Yet none of them ever found the cup of Christ, but because it was a story of knights going out and trying to find this cup of Christ, Robert de Baron created a whole mythology that people continue to believe, and it gave them a great impetus to search for this cup. So many knights took off their lives to go and search for the cup of Christ. So the entire thing is a false creation by Robert de Baron. So the entire Indiana Jones movie is a figmentation of Robert de Baron's creation in his mind, but the creation was so powerful that the Indiana Jones movies based this on the fact that the Third Reich truly were looking for these mystical objects. They were looking for the spear of destiny, because it was said that Charlemagne, as long as he had the spear of destiny, he never lost a battle. So Adolf was looking for the spear of destiny, believing that it would have magical powers ingratiated by God. Yes, the Indiana Jones movie was a good movie. I like the Indiana Jones movie, but they're all based on fairy tales, and the cup of Jesus is based on a fairy tale. Now, here's what's funny: there's at least 4 or 5 of those cups sitting around that people are claiming all throughout Europe, and there's one in America. There's one in the New York Metropolitan Museum that every every scholar has said it's not even a cup, but a lantern. It's a lantern. It's an oil lantern, but they got it up there like a cup. I've never been in the city of New York, but when I do, I've got to go see this cup. But I've seen some of the cups throughout Europe, some of the chalices throughout Europe, and they are frauds. But of course, the Da Vinci Code version of it is based off of a Chinese American architect who was inferring that the Louvre, that the when you go, if you ever go to the Louvre and you see the pyramid outside, it also forms a pyramid underneath, which then it connects with another pyramid that then go underneath again, and it is supposed to be a representation of Mary Magdalene. And then within the Louvre, there is, I think it's in the Louvre. Yeah, it's in the Louvre. There is an ossuary that is supposedly the skull of Mary Magdalene. Now, if someone was claiming that they were from this Merovingian line, then all you got to do is scrape off some little DNA from that skull, and then can see if those people are related. It still may not prove that it's Mary Magdalene, but you'll at least know that whoever that ossuary is, that's part of your lineage. Now, I will say some of the ossuaries of bones that they have of, certain saints that they have declared, those can be verified. But the ossuary that they claim is the bones of Peter, the 3 wise men, uh, all of those cannot be verified, have not been verified, and will never be verified because you have no basis to verify them. But when a pope has died from way back in the day and he has an ossuary, or this saint who was walking around in the 4th century, 5th, 6th, 7th century, sure, you can recognize them. But as far as the spear that pierced the side of Jesus and it became the spear of destiny, and it has all these magical powers, and Charlemagne held it and no one could defeat him, those false claims. False claim. And you can't, it will be very difficult to prove them. Even, I want you to think about from 1st century. Let's just think about the where the church built the thing on Jesus, the cross. It was established 300 years later. You know how many people were probably placed on that hill, and how many holes have been filled up, holes been dug up, holes been filled up? Really? You believe that? People believe that. I find it amazing. I think you meant you have gone too far. I'll show you right now on your laptop. Show me what? What you got? What you got there, Robert? Robert Ben David. What do you have? What can you prove? This is the part I was hoping for. I was hoping to get a Christian who would come on here and state which one of the relics are true. Which ones are real? I mean, I really want to know. Robert Ben David Jr. It sure taking you a long time. Would you like to speak verbally, Robert? I can send the link so you can come on to the show there, Robert. Robert, do you prefer Robert, Bob, Robert? Because I'm telling you right now, there is absolutely zero proof of any of these things being true. God dang, how long does it take somebody to type something? Tappity, tappity, tappity. So you supposed to be showing me something on your computer, but you decide to type Robert, son of David. You make this. See, this is why nobody can take y'all seriously. This is why nobody can take y'all seriously. You type this. Let's go, Lorenzo. I'll show you right now the son of Jesus Christ. You type, you've gone too far. I'll show you on your own laptop. You had all this daggone time, and what you type is Robert, son of David. This is why nobody can take y'all seriously. You make your statements, your claims, and then you run around in circles. You can't step up to the plate. Which of your relics are true? You let, I see what it is. You let people like Boondocks throw you off because Boondocks. What Marco Alonzo de la Garza Falcon? What does that mean? What does that mean? Look it up. That's my ninth grandfather, and I'll show you who the king of all. Oh man, gosh, really? That's what we doing. That's what we doing. This is what we doing. You know what? I'll play the game. Let's play the game. As the no 1980 something movie said, would you like to play a game? Marcos, Alonzo. God dang it. Oh my God. Google's been, my phone did an update, so it's tripping. Why can't I look? I can't look up nothing right now on my phone. Google is being updated. Try again later. Ain't this some bullshit? Oh, we have our haters in here. All right, war game. Let me look this up on my regular. I ain't want to go here. Oh, okay. Who is this person? Marcos. Man, you talking about a dude who was born in the 1550. You talking about this colonizer? I'm not even going to waste my time to read this information right now about who you are saying is your ninth grandfather. I should have thought about it when you said ninth grandfather. The, what does he prove? He proves absolutely nothing. We have our little insecure guy on here. Hello, insecure guy. Hello, little Alabama guy. Little Alabama guy. How you doing? All that Christian love. Look at the Christian love. Oh, the Christian love that we get. I done missed out on a whole bunch of y'all comments. I ain't mean to hit that. What in the world? It amazes me how people want to claim this type of bullshit. Oh, my grandfather, born in 1561, and he proves some. He's the king of kings. No, your grandfather's just some dude. If that's your grandfather, why do Christians behave back? Because they can't help themselves. And I said Alabama. I'm not sure. Rivers might be from. He might be from Mississippi. I know it's just some small ass town that only got about like a couple of people in it. Yeah, it's either Mississippi or Alabama, some little small town. Only a couple of people that live in that town. Uh, I have his information somewhere else, just in case he ever says something threatening. I know exactly where to send him. Right on up there in Baton Rouge. So that he is sitting at home in Baton Rouge with his family and get that. Baton Rouge police. Anyway. I dealt with this kind of thing when I was growing up as a kid. Because I grew up in Marietta, the city of Marietta, then we was often, because I didn't talk and act like those on the south side of Atlanta, it's your white man character. I have my character, the character of the area that I grew up in. I do not have anybody else's character. When a person who tries to claim themselves to be enlightened burrows down into the idea that character has a race based on it, you demonstrate that you actually exist with a lower vibrational thought. You demonstrate your ignorance of recognizing that there is no such thing as race. That's it. Uh, it is that mentality that says that this is how a black person is supposed to act and this is how a white person is supposed to act, that helps to create more separation between people who may have a common goal that they're reaching for. Yes, I would not allow my children to speak slang when they was growing up. I wanted them to be able to not be held back by anything. And I wanted them to be able to chameleon themselves into any situation. So they learned multiple things. They understood how to be when they were in the hood. They understood how to be when they was in the trailer parks. They knew how to be when they was in Florida. They knew how to be if they're in California. They know how to act if they go to Germany. They know how to act if they go to Africa. Everywhere that they go, they can make people feel comfortable and that they can merge into the society. The fact that there's supposed to be a black way of acting. So I guess being black mean, oh, I gotta speak in slang, and being black mean that you don't study, you don't read. Being black mean you don't get A's and B's in school. Being black mean you don't go to college. Being black mean that you don't get corporate jobs and you got to get the field hand jobs. I swear. The level of ignorance that we put on ourselves in the black community just defies my mind. Had members of my family used to be like, your kids talk white. Oh, because they know how to properly use a language? And look at the ignorance. It's only good for my white audience when the overwhelming majority of my audience is black. The overwhelming majority. I check the stats all the time. The overwhelming majority of the audience that follows me on every platform is black men. But yet you know who follows me, right? Ignorance. Ignorance. That is the level of ignorance, and I'm done with him because there's no reason that I'm going to lower myself to his level of lower vibrational level. Maybe he has a problem with being able to use a proper American English, and that's his problem. Maybe he, wasn't loved as a child. I don't know. Grew up in the hood, and the only way he thought that you can get out of the hood was through sports or violence or the military or gang affiliation or something stupid like that. Didn't think enough of himself to be able to build a business and get out, or find higher forms of education and place your family so your next generation can do better. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him. But anyway, moving right along. I know I've missed some of you guys' comments. See, I mentioned the Vinci Code, and you're trying to show me your own blast. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mentioned the Da Vinci Code, and I'm trying to show you your own blast, your own past. My past has absolutely nothing to do with the gentleman by which you mentioned. So I don't see how that's showing me my past. You have to elaborate on that one. Well, you have to elaborate on that. I don't fully understand what you mean by how Marco, what was his name? Marco Alonzo de la Garza Falcone. I don't know how he merges with my past at all. I don't have any Latin in my past. Or whoever he was, he's not a part of my past. I knew y'all wasn't gonna stay on this subject matter that long. I just knew it right off the bat. Because it's just an easy thing to realize that other than the ossuaries of saints, all Christian relics are fakes. None of them are real. This is why the Vatican had to come out and say that they're not real. That it is the image, it is the energy that people put into them, it is the belief that people have. Now, you would think that would be enough to cause people to stop going to these things as tourists, right? You would think that would make people realize, okay, well, if none of these things are real, then how do we actually know the Bible is real? Especially now that we know that in our time that it's not written by any of those the people that claim to have written it. Even the early church fathers, if any person were to do 5 seconds of research, would know that they're not written by any of those people, nor sky eyewitnesses or anything of the sort. But people still believe these things. You know, it's amazing to me. Before your deconstruction, what was your denomination? I grew up Baptist. As a young adult, I spent more, well, I grew up Baptist, young adult, still Baptist, early adulthood, still Baptist, and then I went to Methodist, non-denominational. I think that's about it. Yeah. But really, how is it that we claim to be woke and still follow and still fall for Christianity? I'm supposed to pray to my oppressor God, and that works out for whom? Because you are still a person would still be considered asleep if they are still praying to a God that was pressed upon their ancestors through violence and subjugation. But it's what they've grown up with and is what they're comfortable with in their community. So they hang on to it. People hang on to what makes them comfortable. My people are the ones who enslaved your people, and I'm just trying to free you, give you what belongs back to you. No one can give that to me. I have to take it myself. So I appreciate what you're saying, but understand I'm already free from what my ancestors were forced into. My ancestors were forced into this religion. I have been free from this religion. My ancestors were forced into only believing that the Western mindset is the right mindset. I've been freed myself from that. Hell, if anything, that probably what caused me most of my, other than the racist dude I was working for, caused me most of my problems in the Marine Corps because I refused to accept that the nationalism of America. All right, he said, "Who's your?" Tim asked, "Who's your people?" I guess this Spanish-looking conquistador in the 1500s is his people. Why do people, religious people, get mad at people when they don't believe? What's their incentive? Is there a plot of a pot of gold somewhere? No. So when you have the religious, so I think that the overwhelming majority of people who are religious, if you don't agree with them, most of them will just walk away, just leave it alone, and go about their life. For the ones who get angry because you don't believe, they are the ones who need reassurance of their belief. And the more people that accepts and believe what they believe, the more they feel comfortable in their belief. They're sheep. And so they lash out in anger. Now you do have the ones that get angry when you are showing the information. They may not have need your reassurance, but when you show them information, they become disturbed because they begin to question it themselves, and they don't like to question it. They want to keep things where they are. And then they'll lash out. But for the ones who just lash out when you just say, no, I don't believe in what you believe in. How could you not believe that? I mean, God is, those are the ones that are insecure. When I was religious, I got angry because my ignorance was called out and I felt boxed in. Perfect example. Why do I say to Christians who say Catholics aren't? All forms of Christianity. Let me think about this. How I want to say this. Most forms of Christianity, everything that came out of Protestantism, so all your non-denominationals in the Western world, all of your Mormons and your Seventh-day Adventists, your Protestant, your AMEs, your Baptists, all of them came out of Catholicism. Catholicism comes out of the Roman ideas of Christianity. They're all the same. They just have different doctrines. So I usually will point out the fact of the lineage of their doctrine and how it just changed over different arguments. It doesn't rattle me in the way that you think. I just find it interesting that a grown man could be this ignorant, yet think that he is intelligent. And you can call me an agent. Here's the thing. I don't particularly care what anyone calls me. To be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what, Jericho? Let me be honest with you. Let me put that back up here. I'm going to be honest with you. In the past, I would just ignore people like you because you don't define me. No one defines me. I define myself. No one defines me. And I usually don't give two shits about what people say about me. I really don't care. As they would say in Hollywood, I give a little bit of attention to people like you because it makes for a good show. It's entertaining. I've recognized that the people who follow this page, every now and then, they like a little show. Huh? Okay. Oh, so my wife had to tell me something real quick. So anyway, you guys make for a good show. And because you make for good show, I know it's entertaining to the people. And that's it. Me personally, I could care less. I would ignore you all day. Kind of like when I'm walking down the street and I see the purple Power Rangers on the street. I generally just walk by. I ignore them. They don't bother me. I see the ignorance and the level of stupidity and I keep it moving. You know, they want to cry out, we the Israelites. I'm like, okay, good for you. But that is the only reason. Rattle me? No. Agent, could care less. But I know people like Raph and Tim and Boondocks and, you know, Sean and I know they like to argue and stuff. Well, I just let them have it. Look, Jericho, you sound like one of them damn purple Power Rangers who standing on the corner yelling out to people that you don't know who you are. Do you know your nationality? We all Israelites. And we ain't got no proof, except we just claiming it. But we all Israelites, which I think is a very sad state of being. It is well documented that absolutely no one, none of these black people in America can demonstrate any genetic lineage to Israelites. Yet you claim it. I mean, let's think about it for a second. Let's think about it. I can do DNA to show that I'm connected to my brother and my parents and my grandparents and so on and so forth, up until the point of DNA is available. We can do. I can look at paperwork and see where my family came from, where they live, land that they bought, issues they had with the Freedmen's Bureau, who they married. All this information I can look up, all the way to certain members of my family. I can see where the boat that they came over on. Them purple Power Rangers stand on the corner. And the last time I ever had a conversation with any one of them, I asked them, prove to me that you came from these Israelites. Show me the documented proof. Because other than that, you're just yelling shit. You're just yelling stuff. All you're doing is making claims of an attachment to a people group that is popular today. That's it. 100 years ago, you did not have black people running around talking about we Hebrew Israelites. 100 years ago, you had them trying to claim that they were Nation of Islam, that we all come from them. You didn't have that beforehand. Nobody claiming Israelite. Your parents, your great-great-grandparents from the 1600s and 1700s, they were talking about their ancestors who was over in the homemade, the Benin and Niger and Nigeria. They were talking about that. But none of them talking about no damn Israelite. They ain't never heard no damn Israelite till they came over here and somebody put a whip on their back. Some people don't know what they talking about. They've been making shit up. Yeah, you don't know nothing about my grandparents and ancestors. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it is all I ever ask an Israelite to do, is to prove that their direct descendants come from the Levant. Prove it. Not know, oh, you see what happened was during the Great Diaspora, some of them went down and they moved into West Africa. And, you know, see this map that this white man made that said the kingdom of Judah, because they couldn't pronounce Vayuda. This, and see, that's where the homemade captured them and they sold them to the Portuguese and the Dutch, which most of them ended up in South America and the Caribbean. Oh, and see, that's who we are. That's who we are. Because Deuteronomy 28, 63, 68 say that we're going to sail away on ships. I'm like, prove your family. Your family came from there. It is laughable. And when you, and let me tell you one of the reasons why I don't deal with them on the street. Because the one time in New Orleans, when I did deal with them fools on the street, all of a sudden I found myself surrounded by 40 angry black men who, once they realized that they had no sway with me and I was defeating their argument, all of a sudden now they want to turn violent. All of a sudden they want to turn violent. These black men, for the other black men. Oh, I can't defeat your arguments, I'm going to fight you. It's amazing. But that's how religion works, though. That's how religion and all factions of religion works. That's the David Koresh, the Jim Jones, the Falls Gate, the Mormons, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Calvinists, the Protestants, the Baptists, all of them. They find people who are downtrodden, people who feel oppressed by the larger system, and they carve out a pathway that is familiar to them and makes them feel better, makes them feel special. And then when they do that, all of a sudden, now they have something they can stand on. They think they can stand on. They feel so much better about themselves. And they feel like they've grown and they have something that makes them better than their oppressors. Instead of just making yourself better, make yourself into a better person. Raise up great kids. Do something in your community. Build a school in your community. You know, teach critical thinking and economics in your community. You know, do something like that instead of, I gotta tell everybody that, you know what, I'm a Moor. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm an indigenous to America. Instead of all that bullshit. I remember this one dude, me and him used to argue back and forth. Well, we didn't argue. We had a conversation back and forth about him claiming the indigenous part. Then he had a little bit of indigenous blood in his family line. He can demonstrate that, and that's fine. But he would ignore the African part, right? But I asked myself, okay, you want to focus on the indigenous part of your family. That's fine. Okay, so now what are you going to do with that? Are you going to get land? Are you going to make the United States government uphold a treaty, recognize your tribe, uphold a treaty, and give you land? Are you going to do any of those things? Or is standing on your soapbox, does that make it right? Does that make it work for you? Because other than doing anything, what's the point? And see, obviously they don't listen. Tell me about my ancestors. I don't know you, Jericho. I don't know you. Prove your ancestry. That's what I'm telling you. Prove that you a Hebrew Israelite. Prove that your ancestries come from the Hebrew Israelites. That's what I want. That's upon you to prove that. Prove that. I mean, you can start with the fact that that you're from Indigo, California. You can then, you look at your grandpa, right? And then find out more information about your grandpa, who his parents were. You can find out some information. Start with your grandpa. And then do some research. Talk about his family. Find out about his family, and continue down the line. That's all. Stop falling for these things that make you feel good. You said we can talk military stuff, which makes you think, so you was in the military. All right. So you know that being in the military means you develop your own personal leadership, that you research information, that you formulate the plan, execute the plan, make other people better, right? That's your job as a, uh, an NCO and a staff NCO, is to make other people around you better. What you doing to make the people around you better, other than trying to make them believe that they from some ancient group of people that's attached to a book with a God that insists on making slaves out of foreigners? A God that says, let's go genocide all these people and kill all these babies. Let's take the baby girls and who have not known a man and make them into wives. You want people to follow that. Come on, man. Hold on. I gotta read this one. Right now I'm searching. I've been a Christian and an Israelite, and I found that both are false. In my search, I came across people who at first sound good. Finding out it was false, someone came, opened my mind. Right now I'm open. I'm listening to others. I'm not now stuck in one way thinking. This is how I came across this platform. Right now, I like this platform until someone shows me different. There you go. Simply having an open mind, see what is true, what is false, and keep moving. Not be so emotionally attached to something that you can't allow your brain to work. That's the right way to be. That's the right way to be. That's the journey that I went on myself. I never did the Hebrew Israelite thing because really there was no contact. Growing up in Atlanta, we had the Nuwampians were the Hebrew Israelites of the day, right? So I tried him out, but I saw the false doctrine of Malachi York. I also saw his behavior. That in itself was enough as well. But I researched Islam, I researched Judaism, and researched Buddhism and Hinduism, all of them, and I saw the falseness in them. And then I started researching alchemy and hermeticism and the Tao. So continue your search and keep researching. I still research to this day. I don't know. I didn't know Malachi York personally, but on one of my long weekends while I was in the Marine Corps, I was introduced to Malachi York when I was in the Marine Corps. When I first went to the Marine Corps, I was introduced to Nawampians, and the little leaflets they was going all around, the little booklets, they was all around Camp Lejeune. So I took one of my weekends and I went down to where was it? It was South Georgia, South Middle Georgia. Shit, what little town that was in? It's like 30 years ago. Shit, whatever the town was, I went down there, went to the compound, spent the weekend down there, saw the bullshit because it sounded good. Everybody in the Bible was black. It was a black man. Moses was a black man teaching right knowledge. The esoteric versions sounded good. And as a black, growing up black in Georgia, dealing with the oppression, just coming out of a situation where I found out that my guidance counselor had went to jail for giving away scholarships that supposed that went to black kids, and one of those was mine. Yeah, I was feeling like I want to get back at the white man, but I wasn't going to follow his bullshit. So, but I didn't know, I can't ever state that I knew him personally. Sat in on sessions, saw him in the encampment, didn't like the way he was. You know how you can feel somebody is just, they ain't acting right towards the little girls? You know what I'm saying? Like you can just feel it, like you just, that energy to know it. Mm. I know Devin. He keeps saying white boy. Jericho, I know you guys on YouTube can't see it, but the only thing that Jericho can keep saying is, "You sound like a white boy. You using the white boy language. Yeah, you talk. But you don't hear you use as usual talking in the tongue of the white boy." Hey Jericho, you're in here typing in the English language of the white boy. Why aren't you typing in the language of the black man, the Hebrew Israelite black man, the indigenous black man in the Americas? Why you ain't typing in that language? Why you typing in the white man language? Oh, the hypocrisy of some of these people just astounds me. I will give the Hebrew Israelites credit, though. They have been able to galvanize a large number of young black men and to organize them. A lot of them have stopped doing criminal activities. I will give them credit for that. But where does it move to beyond that? I don't care if you want to be a Hebrew Israelite, indigenous, Moorish, whatever the hell you want to claim. But as you move through society, what is the benefit? What are you doing with all that? They got all that power and they ain't doing shit with it. They tried to go to Kenya. They stoned their asses. But what are they doing with that power? I'm going to tell you right now. Don't give me an organization here in San Antonio or anywhere. Give me an organization where I got present, not on social media, but present 200, 300, 400 able-bodied black men. I'll show them motherfuckers how to build something. I'll show them. But see, what's crazy to me is that unless I'm coming Christian, Hebrew Israelite, indigenous, Moorish, unless it's backed and established by something like that, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to deal with it. It's just like how I started this thing and I said that the next seminar is going to be financially on fire. It's going to let's build our finances. Most people don't want to do it. Most people want to keep doing the same thing they've been doing, but complain about it, but keep doing the same thing they've been doing. So when I did put myself out there to try to organize Black people when I lived in Atlanta, it was a lot of talk and no action. And I realized that's why the Hebrew Israelites and the Moorish and the indigenous and all that, people like a lot of talk and no action, right? That's what they like. A lot of talk, no action. Let's get together and let's talk about how we're gonna build a school, and let's talk about how we're gonna build a compound and build our own city, and all this. Set up a whole program to go and establish land south of Atlanta, build our own community, how we can then take over the governments of the local community, and then as we continue to grow and become self-sufficient, take over a county, and eventually the plan takes over the whole state of Georgia, and then we take over the whole Southeast, the whole deal. Create our own nation within a nation, our own police force that we are governing, we are holding accountable. Oh no, they just want to go march. They want to go march. That's it. You had some young Black ladies who tried to do the same thing, similar thing in Atlanta. Oh, 19 people, just 19 people. Let me tell you why they don't want. Let me tell you how people don't want to take action. The Nation of Islam at one point owned, I think it was like 1,000 acres of land in Georgia and like 40,000 acres. It was like this crazy number, 40,000 or 30,000 acres of land in Georgia and Alabama. But they never, ever, ever once said, hey, all our members of the Nation of Islam, we're going to move to this land. We're going to build our compounds. We're going to have our own police force. It'll be enough of us in that compound that we can put our people as the mayor, from the mayor down to the sanitation people. And then we can take over the county seats and the state seats and all these things, because there'll be enough of us down here to take this over. And then we can become self-governing within this government, like the Maccabees tried to do. They could do it. But then they never tried. As a matter of fact, they wind up having tax problems. They wind up losing some of the land, and then they wind up selling off the other land. When y'all gonna buy some land? Hebrew Israelites, Moorish, indigenous. When y'all gonna buy some lands and set some shit up? When you gonna do some of that? Coach, what is sounding white being intelligent and articulate? If that's white, then I'm white. Well, that's been one of the holdovers from slavery. One of the things that pit us against each other, the house and the field. The one that lived in the house had to speak more properly than the one that was in the field. And so once the slavery portion ended, that became another thing that kept us separated. Is that you're trying to be like them instead of being like us in the field. Instead of trying to recognize that this is the society that we're in. You're born in this society. So utilize the system that's here to do better, get better, have better for your people. Thank you. It was in Ironwood, Georgia, that they had a farm on it, and it was a money pit. Thank you. Oh, sorry. She meant Braunwood. Coach, just make sure you don't receive the Nawampian Nation. No, actually, they shut it down. But yeah, I went to the Nawampians. I went down there. That was what I was talking about with Malachi York, the Nawampians. Right knowledge. Being intelligent, sounding white wasn't my intent. The coach told you that. I'm talking about the content of his character. Let me ask you a question. How do you even know the content of my character? No one, no one on here really knows me. Y'all think you know me and you know what you've seen, but you don't really know me. So how are you going to claim the content of my character? Because I don't agree with your Hebrew Israelitisms, then it's the white man. You see how simple-minded that is? That if you don't agree with this primary thing that defines me, and you look the same like me as far as melanin, then you must be opposing to me and like the white man in your character because you don't agree with this thing that defines me, defines who I am. That is such a low vibrational thought. You see, if it came down to building, well, if it came down to the plan that I had put out, and I put this plan out years and years and years ago, of how we can take over the Southeast and be self-governing and not have to deal with all the police brutality, the mistreatment of government that Black people were still experiencing, but definitely was experiencing 10, 15 years ago at a higher, at a more, not a higher rate, at a visual rate, higher visual rate. I wouldn't have gave a damn if the people who came down there were Christians, Hebrew Israelites, Nawampi. I wouldn't give a shit what your religious thought process is. I wouldn't give two shits about who you thought your ancestors are. What I'm talking about is in the here and now, building a system that guarantees protection and prosperity for people who have been marginalized in this system that we live in today. If you had a higher level of enlightenment, then the religious part wouldn't fucking matter. This part does irritate me, but it wouldn't fucking matter. Because at the end of the day, you driving down the street, if a police pull up behind you, they can kill you, beat you, incarcerate you on some bullshit. If the government decides that it wanted to do all kinds of bullshit to you, like you've been in the military, you should understand that. You powerless. But when you control the land, you control the schools, you control the police, the mayor to the sanitation, the senators, the congressmen, you are freer than what you are now. But y'all want to care about somebody's religious beliefs, somebody's thought on their ancestry, and say that, oh, I can't deal with you because of that. And see, after all of that, you're an agnostic, and not entirely a Black thing. You're destroying history, just like the white folks. So the content in your character so far is like that of a white boy. I don't have to know you to see what you're doing in these videos. So I just made that whole statement about what we deal with in the here and now. Building a place or a society within the society that gives more protection and greater abilities of prosperity for yourself now, your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come. And this is the bullshit that you type. You see, if anything, you sound like a gatekeeper. If anything, you sound like an agent for the very white man that you're talking about. Or at the minimum, you sound like the sheep that they expect you to sound like so that you can keep Black people from being able to achieve the level of prosperity that we know we can. You sound like the person that doesn't want the Black dollar to circulate within his community so that it keeps going out to the communities that's destroying Black communities. You sound like the gatekeeper or the fool that gets taken advantage of because you're buying into their plan. So your statements show that you're buying into their plan of keeping people divided. Oh, they love the fact that trillions of dollars are spent by Black people. But if we spend it with each other, regardless of religious beliefs, if we start to live in communities together and build those communities, oh no, gatekeeper Jericho Walker, Let's have him come out and try to talk bad about anybody who does that and say that, oh, you got to be in my spirituality and my historical beliefs in order for you to be with me. You see what I'm saying? Gatekeeping. You want to call other people agents. You are the agent, sir. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. So, moving on, as he will get zero of my attention from here on out because he is not deserving of that. You know, oh my gosh. Damn. I'm sorry. Just, you know, I be having stuff coming into me on my research from a research team. I'm not gonna go there. I am not. Oh my gosh. That would be wrong if I did that. I'm not good. Yeah. I let's move on. Oh yes, the Bible God did more killing, stealing, and destroying than the fictional character Satan ever got a chance to do. Exactly right. The Bible God killed more people in his story than anybody else. This is why I made the video earlier today. I expanded on last night's conversation when I said that I would, when somebody asked would I believe in this God if it was proven that he was real, and I just would not. This God is such a narcissistic genocidal maniac that I would not. Um, Wrath, if you only knew. If you only knew, sir. Um, but yes, the this God is certainly evil as hell. We can live without money. How you figure? How do you figure that? That is it is somewhat possible, but almost impossible. I'm curious, but I'm curious how you figure we can live without money. According to that book, Satan is a bad guy, giving a bad guy for giving humans knowledge. Exactly. Actually, when you look at the book, it seems more like Satan is the good guy, and the Satan. The Satan is not the one who gave him knowledge. That's the serpent. The Satan and the serpent are two separate beings. Not the same. But the Satan is still a better guy because the Satan wasn't bothering Job. Satan was just going about his business. He just thought that the only reason Job followed this guy is because he had good stuff coming his way. Okay. Learn how to plant your seed. I can handle multiple conversations. Learn how to plant your seed correctly. But you got to buy the seed. Where you gonna get the seed from? Where you can dig wells for your water. You got sun. You can use wind and solar power to a certain degree or certain levels. Uh, you got to buy the land. You're gonna have to pay taxes every year if you're doing this in America. I'm basing it on that. You got to pay taxes every year on the land. So it is relative to where you live, but you still got to buy the land. No matter where you live, you got to buy some land somewhere. Money has always been a thing that's needed in every society. So we all still have, even when there was a bartering system, there was still a form of money that was being used. The bartering in itself becomes money. Yeah, this guy did create the very being that he's saying that we should be shying away from. something will always be used as currency, money, as long as people exchange it and accept it. We will all need it, yes. And as long as governments own land, you're going to have to need some money. You can't pay your land tax with some chickens. And we can go ahead and ban this person who's trying to spell out a word that is not acceptable on my page. Yes, we would just ban you. Thank you for your participation, and now you're gone. Aaron Woodard. You're trying to be slick and gonna try to spell that N word all in one letter at a time. But yes, this God supposedly, right? Why? But see, here's the thing. This is why the idea of God cannot exist as a good God without the opposite of that God, right? So there has to be a devil involved, because, like on one of my favorite movies, The Vampire in Brooklyn, if every day was a sunny day, how would you know it's a sunny day? Evil is good. You got to have some of that. So you can't, no one has created a narrative of a story that can make people follow that narrative without there being some kind of evil, because people have to be able to explain how bad things happen to them. They need that. If you said that bad things happen to people because of other people and only because of other people, that doesn't work for them, because now accountability becomes an issue. And generally, people don't want to take accountability. Now, for weather, back in the day, we didn't they didn't know or understand how weather happens. It's just acts of nature. Hence, in insurance, it's called acts of God, but it's just an act of nature. They didn't understand it, so they had to put an evil God on it. But all of that becomes how it's made up. Now, if the religion truly was started today based on the knowledge that we have of how things function and work, there is no devil except for the one that resides in the minds of people. So if everybody, let's say everybody in the world, followed one rule: don't do anything to anybody or treat anybody any way that you don't want to be treated or you don't want your loved ones to be treated, that would eliminate. And if people follow that, there would be no murders, be no SAing. I knew some of y'all couldn't resist. I knew it. And Wrath, you are Brother Johnson had a $2 hole. Oh man. So if people could think and act and function in that way, there would be no need to create a being of a devil, because we would all take accountability for our own actions. Humans has never shown as a society to accept accountability for themselves. So unfortunately, a God and a devil has to be created for that. But we wouldn't do that now. We know how the weather works. But we also know people are the ones who manifest evil, what we would call evil. And yes, Camilla, when people claim these nationalities and things of that nature, they're just basing it on complexion and their hatred, their racism towards white people, which that's what the Bible teaches. If you think about it, the Bible teaches you to be racist. Not in the same sense we look at racism, but they did it with tribalism. with tribalism and nationalism, which is virtually the same thing, that our tribe is better than your tribe. Our tribe is chosen by God, your tribe is not. So therefore, we're better than you. So it's baked into almost every religious book. I said almost, not all of them. In the Tao, there is none of that. But the Tao is more philosophy than religion, even though there is a religious component to it. But even in a religious component to the Tao, there is not baked into it racism or tribalism or nationalism. Neither with alchemy, the Hermetics, um, Buddhism, you don't see the same. You don't see that either. But almost every other religion is baked in. Do you know how many people David killed? His tens of. I'm going to phrase that sentence a little differently. David killed a lot of people. I mean, he went and had to collect what, 300 penis skins or some shit like that, and then there's all these other people he killed in wars and all that. But what's the point? You got to give me the point. Oh, that he was sent by God. Right. This God sends him to go and kill all these people. And if it wasn't his God, it was Saul. Oh, you want to marry my daughter? I need all these foreskins so I can make me a penis skin jacket. That's some nasty shit. So you would accept the Sodomites to invade the brains of these little children. First, you need to have an actual understanding of what the Sodom and Gomorrah story is actually talking about. It is not about homosexuality. That is what a later doctrine turned it into. So, you know how in the Bible it talks about in Revelation, talk about Jesus going to descend in the sky and the people going to go meet up with him, and then they're going to escort Jesus back into the city. All right. So in their time frame, when somebody important was coming to your city or somebody came into your city, you went out and you met them and escorted them into the city to show everybody that they're good to go. Don't bother them. If that didn't happen, and that's when important people are coming. When people are just coming to a city back in the day, they would first go and meet with the important people of the city, show respect to the important people of the city. And then they will be able to go in the city and trade and do whatever they need to do. This also was a way for them to account for spies and taxation and all that sort of thing. But it was showing the city elders respect. So when these so-called angels came to the city, they didn't go to the elders of the city, the powerful people of the city, and show them respect. So in order to disrespect them, they would rape them. They would essay them. So it wasn't about homosexuality. It was about essaying them because they didn't show respect to the city. Before that, with the conversation with Abraham, they were just talking about the people in that city were wicked. Never said what wickedness they did. Kind of like this guy with killing Ur. He was just so wicked, God killed him. Never said why. So the Sodom and Gomorrah story is not about having sex with the angels. They were already doomed before that, according to this story. But the men came to the door because he didn't show respect. The same thing you get in the story in Judges 19. The man came to the city. He did not go to the elders. He just thought he was going to sleep in the street, sleep in the square. The men came because he didn't come and show respect to the elders of the city. And so he gave his concubine to be essayed to death. So you got to understand that story first. And the only thing that says that these people in this city were wicked is because this God said so, but he doesn't say why or what. In the same way, the people of Sodom could have thought that Abraham and his tribe were wicked because they was up there cutting penis skins off of these kids and mutilating their genitals. That Abraham was ready to kill his son as a human sacrifice to this God. So Abraham, the people of Sodom could have looked at Abraham and said that he was wicked. It's the same way that if you look at a history book that was written in the 1980s in the Soviet Union, America was wicked. The same way our history book said that the Soviet Union was wicked. It's all politics and propaganda. So when you think about it, that statement now becomes invalid because you're making an assertion without actually knowing the other side of that story. Because hell, I remember being in boot camp, and this is before Desert Storm started, and they was like, "Oh, we're gonna go to war with them," and they was like, "Iraq is the evil empire." And I told my commander, I said, "How do you know they're evil? What makes them evil? America has invaded many countries. Aren't we too not evil as well, since we did the same thing?" Like I said, just like a whole bunch of Americans are talking about China's so bad, China's so bad. Really? Are they? Or is that just what the government has told you? And prove Satan exists. You can't just make the assertion that there is a Satan or even a God. You have to prove exactly. Without proof, neither one of them exists. There is no Satan. As much as there is no Yahweh God, there is no Satan. There is no serpent. There is no Lucifer. There is no Beelzebub, no Antichrist, no beast. None of those, no false prophet. None of those things actually exist. None of those things exist. They're all made up stories. Right. Before the Israelites changed Yahweh, mama was Asherah and his daddy was El. And later on, Yahweh takes El's role and Asherah is his wife. And then later on, they get rid of Asherah and just turn her into a pole, and there is no El. Baal was Yahweh's brother at first. Who said you can't prove you can't prove air exists? Did somebody say that? I see that. What is your name? Shaky Bean. Shaky Beans. Well, y'all be winning on some of these names. Man, where Cranky Pants at? Cranky Pants ain't here tonight. When they say air, you can't prove air exists. I always think that is one of the. I'm in agreement with you. That is one of the dumbest comments that they try to use. Air that prove that air exists. Come on now. Uh, I know this chat is all over. I'm with you, Raph. The chat is all over the place. What? Satan made himself. The devil uses his free will. If Satan was able to make himself, then he made himself. Do you mean like he created himself, or his free will? He decided he was going to be Satan and go against this God. Let me make sure. Let me clarify that, because I know you're not saying that Satan self-created. Because if Satan I'm gonna help you out, Patel. If Satan self-created, then that means that he created outside of God, which makes him equal to God, if not more powerful. I know it's one of those nights where there are like 5 conversations going on. There are so many conversations going on. I don't know where y'all at. That's why I just asked. I catch what I can catch. But I do want to know Patel's what's the thought there. What's the thought on Satan created himself? Oh, she don't want to answer my question. She want to talk about the moonwalk. I'm not gonna get into that, but I'm always curious. In some of these conspiracy theories, what's the point? Like, let's say they say the moon thing was fake because we knew we was in a race against Russia and we knew we couldn't win, so we faked this whole thing, even though the Japanese and India and Soviet Union all tracked the same shit that was going on. And why would they track something that goes against them? But let's say the government came out and said that, yeah, we faked it. Yeah, we live under a dome or some shit like that. What's the benefit of faking it? Other than trying to fake out the Russians. I would understand. I literally would understand if the government came out and said, well, the moon, the shot to the moon was fake because we had to beat Russia. So we couldn't beat them technologically, so we had to beat them through some fuckery. I would understand the 1960s government doing that. It would make sense. Propaganda wise, makes completely sense. Cold War era, I get it. But all this other shit, the dome and stuff like that, what's the point? Like, one of the things when we do this seminar, on this financial seminar, is that I would talk about the fact that you have to be able to make financial analysis to see what is uh, the cost and the cost and loss analysis to be able to tell whether something is worth doing and why is it worth doing. So what is the how does the balance sheet come out on these conspiracy theories is always a question that I have. You can see flags and rope. I've never seen it on the big telescopes, but I have. There is a satellite that went around the moon. You can see them on that. What did Sean say? Because if something too good happens or bad, we need to find alternative theories to put blame and praise somewhere. Yeah. Satan is the bad guy because he initiated the death sentence to Adam and Eve. Did he really? Did he? Because they didn't die that day. They were still alive. God lied. Yahweh lied. Yahweh lied, lied, lied. Boondocks, I'm not gonna get into that conversation. I didn't even want to mention about conspiracy theories because I can't those conversations just the Satan dude told the truth. But it wasn't even Satan. Do you realize, Patel, that the idea that the serpent, Satan, Beelzebub, the beast, the great dragons, Lucifer, that up until the 4th century CE, no one put them all together. That was a 4th, 5th, 6th century creation to meld those beings together. Prior to that, early Christians did not believe that they were all one. So you're following a doctrine and not the Bible that you claim. And Casey, that's written in, that's what Christians will quote. You're absolutely right. But that was an analogy. That was a metaphor. Not an analogy. That was a metaphor that was used to demonstrate in their minds how this God is outside of time. But the word that was used throughout the Bible when it talks about a day is the word yom. And all the verbiage around yom means a 24-hour day. So anytime a Christian try to throw that one at you, just go to the word yom, which means a 24-hour day. If you're asking about the putting them all together, that would have been the Christian church of the day, which turns out to be the Holy Roman Empire, as they like to call it. And that's the funniest part to me. What? Shake it, got it. God punished Adam and Eve for not even knowing what's right and wrong. That's like punishing your children when they don't know what's right from wrong. Like you got a little infant. They don't know right from wrong yet. You haven't taught them anything, but you're going to punish them. But yes, the Bible does openly admit that this God lied. But of course, because they have to believe in this God because of their fear of going to hell or into the lake of fire, they just let that slide. And it was a way for them to, because when they look at snakes, they chose a snake, because now they can explain why snakes walk around, why snakes slither on their belly, and their tongues seem to be eating dust. They didn't know that snakes flicker their tongues so they can smell the air. They're not smelling the dust; they're smelling air to see where their prey are, to track their prey. They didn't understand that, didn't know that, so they made up bullshit stories. That's why I don't understand how anybody who have any level of schooling up to, like, if you went to school up to the 6th, 7th grade, you should not believe in the Bible. Sean said, so what kind of snake was it? They never said. They never said, but every culture has made it into a snake that's familiar to their culture. And what's interesting, that snakes were around, they've been around longer than 6,000 years. How do you know Lucifer, which Lucifer is the planet Venus? When you look at it in the Old Testament, they were referring to the planet Venus, the morning star, the light bringers, the star. They thought it was a star that comes up before the sun rises. Wherever, like right now, like you can, yeah, it's early enough. It's still early enough. Right now, if you go outside and you find the planet Venus, then that is called the morning star. That wherever that is, when it first rises in the east, that's where the sun is going to rise. So it's the light bringer. Happens all the time in the northern hemisphere, every day. And where do you get the idea of Lucifer Kingdom billions of years ago? Where does that idea come from? I know where it comes from. I just want to see if you know where it comes from. There, Roberto. Because that story that you're quoting, I don't think you know where it comes from. I think you just heard it so many times that you just believe it. The story of the war in heaven. And some of y'all think you know where it comes from, but it don't come from there either. Yep, that's what we were all taught. They used to walk on his legs, but now he crawls on his belly. Just trying to explain nature. And people were afraid of snakes. I've never heard that. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to research that. So biblically, you can say Enoch because Enoch is the first literature that was written around 300 to, well, it's 32nd century. So 200 to 100 BCE. But the Enochian story of this war in heaven actually comes from the Babylonian, Canaanite, Akkadian, Sumerian story of the war in heaven. The first war in heaven story was told by the first war in heaven story of those people in Mesopotamia and the Levant was actually told by the Sumerian people as far as the war that was fought between Enlil, initially Enlil and Tiamat. That story then gets changed later into the story of Marduk fighting Tiamat, as well as Marduk fighting Enlil. And so that's where the war in heaven story actually comes from. It's a Sumerian Akkadian story that gets transformed in the Babylonians and then picked up by the Canaanites, and then the Israelites pick it up, and their version of it is found in the Enochian literature. So you're partly right, of the Enochian literature, and that's why the Bible quotes it, because they're quoting Enoch, yet they don't accept Enoch as part of their canon. Getting low on this cigar. Getting mighty low. See, the cigar got low faster because y'all having 50-11 day on conversation, so I've been able to smoke more. Right, and that's a sad part of the story. This guy knew that they would disobey, yet he still went ahead with this plan. That guy he is a bad planner. He's not a good planner. He needs a better project manager. God of the Bible is the worst project manager ever. And I've seen some bad project managers in my day. I do not use this, sir. But I'm gonna use it just for you. It still gets hot no matter what. See, I can't stand this damn thing. No, not doing it. Not gonna do it. Nope, Randall. You know it. Cigar got low. Mm-mm. Come on, Randall. Come on, always got the coffee. My wonderful bride always provide me with the coffee. And she makes, and we are coffee bougie, and she makes a great cafe macchiato. Mm. Oh shit, that's hot. That's hot. Ah. Well, cigar gone, coffee gone. So y'all know what that means. Show is over. We stayed on the subject matter for all of about 20, 30 minutes. Y'all weren't no count tonight. I thought we would talk about all these different relics and stuff that are obviously fakes. Didn't even really get into it. We talked about a little bit of them, but I guess there's enough of them that's fake that it doesn't matter. We know that they're all fake. All these relics are fake, except for the ossuaries of people who died at time frames that they were recorded, and that they had live recordings of those people, that they knew that those people were around. But other than that, we went all around the world. So I hope you guys have a great night. I want to thank everybody for being here. I am going to put out, we're going to have another seminar. This is going to be a financial seminar because I want you guys to do better with your finances. I want you buying houses. I want you buying land. I want you to be able to start businesses and whatever you want to do, but be in a great financial position going forward. So we're going to have a financial webinar probably early next month. So I look forward to doing that. Yep, Sean, you missed it. It was on about 10 minutes, about 20, 30 minutes after the 7-minute mark of the beginning of this video. Don't be trying to slide in some stuff. What brand of coffee would you recommend? So we're coffee bougie. We used to get our coffee from the Cab Farmers Market in Atlanta, and we would get like the Kenyan beans or the Guatemalan beans. We get beans. Actually, here in Texas, and I hate admitting this. I hate to admit it. But this damn place that they got here, they call it HEB. The shit's called Heb in my book. If you can go to a Heb Plus, they should have the beans. The beans that we get, the Mexican beans, the Kenyan beans, the Guatemalan beans, those are great. Great. Indonesian beans are also great. So we don't necessarily buy a brand, we buy beans. I had to answer a coffee question. Had to. So I look forward to our next conversation. Look forward to, thank you everybody who are members like Raph. Thank you Raph for donating a membership. And thank you for donating in this format. For those who do that, thank you for all the subscribers and subscription holders, and for everybody who shares the video. And Randall, don't try to ask me a question, try to get me to stay on here longer. I know that trick. We're not doing that. And plus, I've explained the hierarchy of where the Jewish people came from before that. You know, it goes Sumerian, Akkadian, Canaanite, Israelite. So don't even try, bro. But I look forward to our conversation tomorrow night. We go live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see y'all. See y'all later. And for Wrath, who had asked a question, currently we are drinking Ruta Maya beans, and them beans are strong. Let me tell you that right now. I had a cup of that. She made some of that, and I drank an extra cup after like 9, 10, or after about 10 o'clock. And I was up till the sun came up. So that shit's strong right there. Just let you know. That shit's strong. It got some strength on it. Yes. What time is it there, Coach? It is 9 o'clock. Oh yeah. Oh, Randall got that expensive taste. Got that expensive coffee. So anyway, I will see y'all the next time tomorrow night. Don't know what we're talking about, but always remember you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and I'm out.